She said that she saw pure evil in his eyes.
I think for her, she found it a very troubling experience.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we'll be discussing 10 of the most infamous murder cases where the accused or defendants were under 18 years of age.
And amid the hundreds of suspects, one child, Mary Bell, seemed to want to draw attention to herself.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Aaron Thomas Campbell.
Alesha's family wanted Aaron Campbell publicly named and shamed. He will be sentenced on the 21st of March.
The very nature of this video's subject matter requires a content warning on our part, but it's difficult to even describe the motivations behind the killing of a child. Aaron Thomas Campbell wasn't even 18 years of age when he entered the unlocked domicile housing a 6-year-old Alesha MacPhail. Campbell's initial motives were murder, specifically over an illegal substance that he'd attempted to purchase from MacPhail's father, Robert. However, Campbell would then choose to abduct MacPhail while the child was sleeping in her bed and do the unthinkable. The troubled personal familial history of the convicted offers little comfort to those left behind, to the lives shattered by Campbell's heinous and disgusting actions.
Not once during the trial did I detect a flicker of emotion from you.
Unnamed. The two young boys that were convicted of murdering 19-year-old Shawn Seesahai were only 12 at the time of their crime.
He'd left his home and family in the Caribbean to come to the UK for surgery to save his sight. Instead, he was killed by 2 children.
This fact seems beyond comprehension, and the defendants involved in this 2023 case were the youngest ever to be convicted of committing murder with a knife. The pair utilised a machete to hack Seesahai with a force that bordered on mania, having apparently been in contact with older boys in their neighbourhood that encouraged these murderous impulses. These unnamed killers also came from troubled home lives and were ultimately sentenced to detention at His Majesty's pleasure, with a minimum 8 years served in a youth offender institution.
They feel that if low sentences are given, it will not deter others from carrying knives.
Will Cornick. The lion's share of William Cornick's schooling was without major incident. The 15-year-old had previously been well liked by both students and staff. However, a diabetes diagnosis would place Cornick in a dark place, to the point where the student's demeanour was unrecognisable from that of a polite young man. Cornick gloated and showed absolutely no remorse for the brutal slaying of his Spanish teacher, Ann Maguire.
Today it emerged Ann Maguire was due to retire this September. Her murder during a Year 11 Spanish class came on the first day of that last term.
The attack, which was perpetrated during one of Maguire's classes, came from behind, with both viciousness and force. Meanwhile, an inquest after the fact revealed that signs of Cornick's deteriorating mental state were obvious on platforms such as Facebook. Yet nothing was done to deter Maguire's eventual death.
This is clearly an unprecedented and tragic incident which has left the school and wider community in a state of shock.
Sharon Carr. The case of Sharon Carr is yet another that features a convicted criminal with absolutely zero signs of remorse. Instead, the now adult Carr has repeatedly shown signs of violent and homicidal urges while incarcerated for the death of Katie Rackliff in 1992. The shocking thing is that Carr was only 12 when this murder occurred.
It was something that she was proud of. It was something, if you like, that she wanted the world to know about.
The attack on Rackliff was unprovoked, and Carr did not know her victim when she violently slashed Rackliff while the latter was leaving a nightclub. Carr escaped police custody for 2 years due to incorrect assumptions that the attacker was an adult male. Such was the brutality and gruesomeness of Carr's blade.
You just don't associate that with a woman, let alone with a child.
Daniel Bartlam. We've attempted to ask ourselves the question, who could kill a child? But what about who could kill their mother? Daniel Bartlam did just that when he attacked his mother Jackie with a hammer back in 2011.
Most boys of his age were thinking about football and computer games. He was thinking about killing his own mum.
Bartlam then set the body ablaze, in an act that was allegedly inspired by a storyline from the popular UK soap Coronation Street. Bartlam was only 14 years old when he committed this crime, one that some claim was done in order to emulate a specific character on Coronation Street by the name of John Stape. The trial emphasised Bartlam's inability to separate fantasy from reality, although his horrible crime was anything but fictional.
It was here in the Nottingham courts on the 2nd of April 2012, almost a year after his crime, where Daniel Bartlam was convicted of the murder of his mother.
Kim Edwards and Lucas Markham. This pair were labelled as the Twilight Killers, thanks to stories that arose of their behaviour after killing a mother and daughter. The occasionally tense relationship between Kim Edwards and her mother was exacerbated by the former's relationship with a boy named Lucas Markham.
They each face a life behind bars.
Edwards and Markham allegedly ate ice cream and watched the Twilight movies after Markham stabbed Edwards' mother and sister to death in their beds. Both Edwards and Markham were 14 at the time of the murders and showed no remorse for their actions during the resulting trial and sentencing.
Today, a jury returned guilty verdicts on 2 charges of murder.
Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Rackliff. It's unclear whether or not Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Rackliff's shared desire to commit murder would have come to fruition had they not been fueled by transphobia. All 3 pieces in this deadly puzzle were teenagers, with Jenkinson and Rackliff being 15 when they stabbed 16-year-old Brianna Ghey back in 2023.
What exactly unfolded over the next few minutes is known only to Jenkinson and Rackliff.
Jenkinson was allegedly obsessed with both serial killers and her friend Ghey, a transgendered person, while Rackliff held strong prejudices that served as a secondary motivation.
Police arrested her murderers the next day.
James Fairweather. 2 separate slayings have been laid at the feet of James Fairweather, who was 15 back when he murdered James Atfield and Naheed Al-Maneer in 2014. Fairweather would be convicted 3 years later for murders that were shocking in their brutality.
It's the sort of thing you really don't want to imagine, let alone live.
Atfield was stabbed over 100 times by the teenager, while Al-Maneer was attacked near her home, suffering grave damage to her eyes and brain. Fairweather's school life was marred by bullying, and psychological profiles after his arrest detailed the teenager's obsession with such infamous killers as the Yorkshire Ripper.
James Fairweather was sentenced by a High Court judge to 27 years in prison.
Mary Bell. The 10-year-old Tyneside strangler was once known as Mary Bell, but now lives under an alias. This is in order for Bell's biological daughter and granddaughter to retain their anonymity, away from the harrowing details of Bell's violent crimes.
Seeing her sitting there, you would wonder how on earth she could be involved in any crime.
Domestic trauma, violence, and abuse was sadly a way of life for Mary Bell prior to the young girl's murder of 2 innocent preschool boys. Bell even saw fit to taunt both police and the mother of her first victim, Martin Brown. Teasing nursery notes that read, "I murder so that I may come back," offer a chilling glimpse into the troubled psyche of a damaged brain.
Scribbled on one were the words, "I murder so that I may come back."
John Venables and Robert Thompson. There are few crimes that shock the United Kingdom's very core more than the murder of 2-year-old James Bulger.
If you've got me, baby, just come back.
The young boy was abducted from a shopping centre by 12-year-old John Venables and 10-year-old Robert Thompson. This tragic abduction was captured on security camera footage and broadcast for the entire nation.
2 10-year-old boys who lured James Bulger from the safety of his mother's side.
Venables and Thompson will both serve time and be released, yet the former has continually run afoul of the law with regards to indecent material.
And just as Denise feared, Venables did indeed go on to re-offend.
The killer's new identities remain anonymous at the time of recording. Should the anonymity of convicted child killers be overturned or protected? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
The police did come round and they said they're going to get released. And I just sat there and I thought, well, where do I go from here?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.